I always forget to spotlight myself. Hi, moms, and anyone working with babies, children, and teens. This is your weekly Zoomcast workshop for moms. Every week, we're going to bring you some speakers and experts to cover interesting topics to parents. This community is here to support you and the important work that you do to raise your kids. I'm Michelle DeKaiser, your host for today. We're coming to you at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Next week, we will rotate to the evening shift of 4 p.m. So each week, it'll just keep rotating. We alternate between these two on Thursdays so we can have listeners and speakers from various time zones all around the world. Thank you for joining us. I am so excited to have all of our three guests today. I'm actually kind of excited. I'm not speaking and I just get to listen today. And I'm so excited to introduce our first speaker. I always call her the baby whisperer. I know she doesn't necessarily go by that, but Irene empowers new and expectant parents with the confidence, clarity, and connection to maximize the benefits of that first year of life. Ladies, we know how important that is, and we know, especially as first-time moms, that can be so stressful. So Irene's here to give us some help on that. She's a pediatric occupational therapist with over 20 years of clinical experience, including Children's Hospital in Miami. She is certified in neurodevelopment and sensory integration. Her experiences working with the tiniest infants and their families at the critical important times inspired her to create the signature system, Best Baby Beginnings. We can learn so much from Irene right now. I can't wait to hear. Take it away, Irene.
Thank you, Michelle, for that introduction. I'm glad to be here with wonderful speakers and connecting mamas in the very important job we do. I promised to show you some miracle moments. My workshop, this is a short introductory workshop about discovering the miracle moments in the first year of your newborn's life. So here we are. So I call them miracle moments because our babies don't speak with words, but really the whole universe is unfolding while we're holding our babies. And we know this instinctively, but it's a little bit difficult sometimes as adults. And when we are overwhelmed with the caregiving and, kind of expanding from one being to two beings and welcoming this new being into the world, it can be a little bit overwhelming, and sometimes we disconnect from that instinct that tells us the whole world really it's unfolding in front of us. Not just the baby, but ourselves as we become new parents. So my privilege and my honor is to coach parents through the first year of their baby's life and make sure they don't miss the miracle moments, because we want to communicate in a place that I think it's deeper than words. So how do babies talk to us? Anybody wants to say anything about that? What are some of the ways that babies talk to us that we instinctively recognize? I'm going to try to look at the chat here. It's a little hard for me. Crying, smiling, cooing, yes. All those verbal sound things. What about their bodies? What about the way they feel in your arms? Sometimes when you're holding a baby, you sense immediately when the baby is tense. And sometimes the baby senses when you're tense. Have you noticed that? Anybody here has noticed that? It seems like the baby seems to stiffen. They just don't quite melt in your arms. But sometimes, I'm going to propose this. We have communication going on, nonverbal communication going on, whether we are aware of it or not. I get to change my slides here. There. And sometimes we don't put words in it, but most of the communication we do is actually nonverbal. And our children are wonderful reminders of where we're at. So I think Latasha, our next speaker, is going to speak a little bit about this. But when we're tense, a baby will pick up on that, and vice versa. So we want to be in a place. My whole motto is we want to be as present as possible in that moment, because those moments are precious and they don't return. So that inspired me to create my signature system called Best Baby Beginnings. Because every time I asked parents, what do you want? What do you want to, what do you want for your baby and you during this time? And they were always, the invariable answer is, I want the best for my baby. So that's what I named my system. And Best Baby Beginnings, because that's how we begin life. That's where we set the foundation for the rest of our lives. Yeah, Latasha saying, holding my finger, that's a very adaptive skill. When a baby's holding your finger, sometimes they're holding themselves together. And believe it or not, holding the finger is one of the reflexes that helps with feeding and with feeling safe. So my question for most of the parents I work with is, what if your baby could talk? I mean, what if you're able to recognize their signals and you knew exactly what to do and when? But to tell you the truth, ladies, I am kind of veering away a little bit from this question because it's becoming more apparent to me that we as parents want to do such a good job that sometimes we spin out trying to perform. And I really want parents to relax into their wisdom in their own nervous system and their baby's nervous system, so that together they can create the best beginnings to life. And I want to ask a question from the audience here. What would you ask for if you could have that time again? If you were at the beginning of that time, what would be your question? What would be your desire? I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to think about, what do you hope to get from the first few moments of the life you're going to share with your child for the rest of your lives? The first few months, the first year. Look at the chat now. To have the support and be able to totally bond with my child. Absolutely. One of the things that we do in preparation for Best Baby Beginnings is that I have a session that complimentary session that I offer parents. And in that session, we talk about building your nest of support. Because as much as we look forward to the birth of a child, sometimes we're unprepared for everything that comes with it, because it transforms us. And so I will put that in the chat later. Patrice will help me remind me of this. But yeah, that's one of my complimentary sessions when I'm interviewing parents that are considering joining Best Baby Beginnings, is that building your nest of support. Latasha says, understanding them and communicate love. And that is sometimes a lot easier and more joyful than we give ourselves credit for. Best Baby Beginnings, we like to build and bless. A lot of parents come to me, is like, is there something wrong with my baby? What can I do better? And one of the things I like to relax into is, let's talk about what's right with your baby. Because babies are perfect just the way they are. I had a privilege to learn that while I was working at the Children's Hospital with some of the tiniest infants in some really critical moments in life, where they, landed early or they had to be at the hospital for some time. And I was privileged to see how every one of them was perfect and a great teacher. So I helped parents kind of tune into that for their own family and their own child. This is a little bit of a brainstorm. Some of the things that parents will question and ask themselves. Their longings, some of their hopes. And my hope is that they will be able to ultimately relax and enjoy this moment and be fully present with their babies. And I have a little motto that we say, how do you know you're doing a good job as a parent? And I say, well, let's talk about your joy meter. Are you able to be fully present? And are you enjoying the experience? I will be the one guiding them through the developmental aspects of it, neurodevelopment, which I think it's very overwhelming for some parents. And I try to give them permission to just be with their babies at whatever stage the baby is, rather than judging it. And so my evolved question is, what if you had the peace of mind to know that you're giving your infant the best beginnings to life, and that it was easy and joyful for both of you? The other thing I run into is that we try so hard to be wonderful caregivers, but sometimes we forget about ourselves. And we want to give from a place of overflow. Our self-care, as one of my teachers used to tell me, the more we want to give, the more exquisite our self-care needs to be, so that we're able to be fully present for this experience that will be life-changing for both baby and parent. And with that, we're going to go into the miracle moments that I wanted to show you. I promised 3 ways. I'm going to show you 3 ways in which a baby can communicate. And how you want to tune into that so that together you can build the best beginnings of life together. I'm sure that a lot of you are familiar with this quote. Does anybody want to read it?
I can read it.
Thank you, Latasha.
There are only 2 ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle.
I like to revisit this because I believe everything about a baby's first few months, first year here, is very palpably a miracle. I'm going to go ahead and show you some. So this is one of my favorite pictures. But this baby's telling us a lot, and not with words. So while we're tuning into the other systems, like the system of touch, the way our body moves, the way they respond to being in this world, what is this baby telling us? This baby is very tranquil. And this baby is probably getting ready to feed. Now, can you tell why? His little hands are very close to his mouth. Patrice, were you going to say something? You're muted.
I was gonna say, it looks like he's gonna be sucking on his hand, so I thought about that.
Exactly. So instinctively, you knew that he or she was going to, yeah, they're kind of getting ready, not quite getting ready to wake themselves up. And one wonderful thing about their babies bringing their hands to their mouth is that it prepares them for feeding very beautifully. And the skin is a conduit of incredible communication in that first year of life. So in addition to getting ready for feeding in a very, I have to say, easy way, this baby is like super relaxed, super trusting, super confident. In addition to that, you see this baby feel one hand to the other. So the other wonderful thing that she or he is doing right now is discovering the boundaries of their body. This is something that imprints in the brain for a lifetime. And we don't want to miss it. So I love to guide parents through this because every day is like a different miracle. And it's a different language that we as adults can gradually remember so we truly connect with our babies. Here's another way that babies communicate. Any ideas?
Through holding our finger.
Yeah, you talked about that a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And holding when I worked in the NICU and the CICU, sometimes that was the only thing that the only connection between a parent and their baby, because they were so critical. And they were in this, I often thought about myself as a kind of an external womb, because my function was to kind of mimic that sacred space where babies come from, right? The womb. And a lot of the sensations in utero are the ones that regulate our system naturally. But when they were in a place like the NICU or the CICU, sometimes the only way to connect with your mommy or your daddy is really to hold their hand. But I have to tell you, that is such a powerful, powerful act. It's a wonderful reflex that it's tied to others in the nervous system, including sucking. But it's great to literally have help the baby hold themselves, regulate themselves as they're holding on to mommy or daddy. In this other picture, they're telling us something's too much for me. That's called finger splay on this part. So normally we look at the environment and we say, was that a noise? Have you seen the babies when they startle, they go like, when there's a hard noise, they go like this? Or when they're not comfortable with some kind of touch sensation, they will show you, particularly early on. They will show you through finger splay, through tremors. And when are these natural? And when should you be concerned about them? Those are also things that we talk about when we do our sessions on a monthly basis. Let me check the chat one. What did you say about the skin? The skin is a conduit for the nervous system. It's actually a layer in utero. The skin develops at the same time as your central nervous system. So the two are very tied together. And babies speak through touch, through the skin. If you want to know more about it, you can look at the work by Tiffany Fields. She was, I hope she's still around, pioneer when it came to exploring the touch. I'll always be grateful to that woman. If we have time, I'll share some of the work she's done. Is phenomenal. And now, the next way that babies communicate. Now, this is a more interactive picture. It involves both the mom and the baby. And it is my belief that initially, when a baby first comes out of mommy, they're kind of sharing a nervous system as they become two different individuals, you know? So that's why, for me, taking care of mommy is taking care of baby. And taking care of baby is taking care of mommy. Because they haven't quite individuated as separate beings yet. It is a wonderful process, miraculous process. So in this slide, you see the confidence of mom knowing exactly where to place her hand, because her baby doesn't have what we call motor control yet. This baby hasn't been in gravity, around gravity in this world enough so that he or she has not developed motor control. But mom knows exactly how to support her baby against gravity and how to move. Movement is another wonderful sensation that affects the nervous system. And we want to harness the sensations like touch and movement to regulate our baby's nervous system, sometimes to regulate our own. That's what we do when we rock our babies and when we dance with our babies like this mommy is doing. This mommy knows exactly, instinctive. Some of this comes by instinct. So I'm sure a lot of you, when you had your babies in your arms, you did this because nature, your nervous system, your primal call was calling you to do some of this. But when you know how to combine these things and make the best beginnings for your baby, it's invaluable. She is enjoying her baby. She knows how to hold this baby's body, but also instinctively, she's holding this baby at the optimal focusing distance for an infant, from the nook of her arms to her face. Yes, nature made that miracle. So, baby's favorite visual picture is the mom's face. And she knows exactly how to move and how to rock so that this images that are coming into the baby's brain initially are giving them maximum benefit. So rocking your baby while you're looking into their eyes is a wonderful thing to do. But she is doing it with confidence and joy, and it looks like she knows exactly what she's doing, whether she does it instinctively or with some guidance. That's a wonderful moment that you don't want to miss out on. So hence the title of my program is, my talk today is Discover the Miracle Moments with Your Newborn Baby. So with that, I'm gonna be closing the lecture. I wanted to open it up for questions if we have any. I see thumbs up. Thank you. I'm gonna, for being here today and listening to this talk, I'd like to extend a complimentary consultation for anyone who is awaiting the arrival of a baby. It's a free consultation on building your nest of support, making sure that that nest fits you, because you will need support both before and after the baby is born. And I will put that in the chat. That's it. And also, anyone in the first year of life. I do have another complimentary session about tuning into your baby, your parenting superpowers. But either one, for those families, those growing families that you love and that you know and love, I'll make those available. So glad that we got to share the space together, and I am just going to wrap up. Gallery mode. And with that, are we ready to move into our next speaker? I'm not hearing anything. Let me just go back.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. All right. So I am going to introduce here one of my colleagues. I spoke about her a little bit ago. Let me find my, sorry here. Let me find my script here. I wanted to do her justice. I have been on stage with her before, and I'd like to introduce Latasha. Where are we? Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh my gosh. I got through the slides, but now I'm looking. Latasha, here we are. I'm honored to introduce Latasha Neil is a mirror coach who helps you see the real empowered you. Latasha Neil invites you on a journey to reflect the parts of you that are screaming out to come out, especially in regards to your life's work. Applying her 8+ years of experience as a behavior specialist and MA in mental health counseling, Latasha equips you to be your own rescue. She is committed to helping you uncover and live out your purpose in an intentional and genuine way. Outside of helping women, Latasha loves to dance and spend time with loved ones and go to the beach.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I appreciate it, Irene. And I love how you support our babies in new stages of life. That is such a beautiful gift. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. So let's see. Hi, everyone. I want to start with a question. How many of you here today feel lost about themselves, lost in themselves, or want more clarity on your purpose? I can see. Thank you. It's, if that's you, you're absolutely in the right place. And I'm going to talk about 3 keys to uncover your purpose. So let me share this so you can see. Can you see my screen clearly? Awesome. So I'm so excited to be here. And I also love vacation. How many of you love vacation and taking time for yourselves? Yeah, I see the hands. So, the last time I was on vacation, I was in Jamaica, and I can remember how grateful I was in that moment, just sitting there with the bright blue sky, the ocean breeze, the waves are right in front of me, right outside my room. It was just such a delight. And I remember thinking, is this my life? I'm so grateful. As Irene had said earlier, I'm a mirror coach, and I help women to be able to really see themselves. That's why I use the word mirror. And then once you're able to see yourself, you can understand more about yourself, like your purpose and what you want to do, right? But how many times that we can get lost in that, right? We might not know ourselves, especially as a mom. And, you know, in addition to being a mirror coach, I am able to help people understand themselves so that they can also grow in their career. And how did this start? I used to be a very shy child. And as a child, I found myself wanting to be a person of service. And that started because my mom, being a single mom of 5, she worked really hard and always kept her doors open to family members to really help them and guide them and be a supportive person to my family and even strangers we've had in our home. And seeing that growing up, I knew that I wanted to be of service just like my mom. And one of the things that it started just becoming so embedded in me is that I wanted to serve people, no matter who they were, in a way that just touched my heart. And my first evidence of that is with my own family. Being that I was the oldest of the 5, I have a younger sister who is 14 years younger than me. And even though I know here, mostly I'm assuming because you're here, you're a mom, I am not a mom. However, I assumed kind of the role of mom growing up. Even my little sister used to call me mom because she, my mom would be working and she would see me all the time and I was taking care of her. I would cook dinner for my siblings. I would go food shopping at a very young age. And what I noticed during those early stages of life is that I learned how to be of service and I learned how to give to everyone else, but not to myself. And it started becoming almost like a trend, not only in my personal life, but in my career. You see, I am a behavior intervention specialist, and I did that for over 8 years. And I would work with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And while I was in that job, I started realizing, even though I understood how to serve, I didn't know how to serve myself. So when things would happen, like when people would overlook me, or when I would feel like I wasn't doing this for me anymore, I started getting lost in my service. Maybe some of you moms feel that way, like you can get lost in being a mom and not so much being in tune with yourself, but both can happen together. But at the time, I guess for myself and my story, it was hard for me to see how I can serve others and serve myself at the same time. And I started at work, even though I was high esteemed, I had gleaming reviews from all of my colleagues and my supervisors. It was very challenging to actually see where I fit in the mix and if I was important and if I was choosing myself, because I would work so hard and I would get these awesome performance reviews, but I wasn't getting paid like it. I wasn't being seen as a person of value that I knew I was. And it became very hard for me. I see your comment, Irene. It says sometimes you can get lost in being a mom and being yourself. Both can happen at the same time. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I brought this quote up because I think it speaks to that. It says, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. It's so important that we look and see the value that we have in ourselves and change ourselves first, because it's when we put that emphasis on ourselves, then we can actually be of support to someone else, like our children and those around us. And I love this quote too, because it goes along with that same point that if you want to maximize your potential, you have to know yourself first. So it's this idea that in order to understand our purpose, we need to take a deeper dive and reflect on ourselves first. So if you're feeling lost or fatigued or without drive or interest as in your motherhood, in your giving, in your service, right? You're absolutely in the right place. And maybe this picture you can relate to the chaos of it all, right? And I have I remember, like, even as a child, or a teenager, I should say, when I was taking my brothers and sisters to the supermarket and, having to keep them focused because we can't just buy junk food. We needed to buy actual dinner and lunch and things of nutritional value. But that part, it was just like, wow, like, we need to be able to focus on ourselves as well as be there for the ones that we love. And some of the common problems that we see is that there's no alone time, feelings of overwhelm, or our needs are not met. And how many of us have felt that way, where we're wanting to be everything to everyone, right? And you see the mom there and she's like, I'm trying to do this work, and she's on the phone, she's on the computer while the kids are on her lap. It's like something we can totally relate to. Or feelings of overwhelm, where it's like we have to do everything. Everything's on our shoulders, and we're like, how are we gonna get this done? And it becomes like, where am I fitting into all this? A friend of mine, we were on the phone together, and she's like, I can't even have a break in the bathroom because she has a young one, right? And we've all been there, where it's like, even there's no sacred time for ourselves, right? So how do we change this? Well, it's a process, right? Some of the remedies to this is redefining what alone time looks like. Sometimes that alone time is literally going to be a few deep breaths, right? It's being able to redefine what that looks like for us, and maybe it means waking up early. It's shorter than what we might have been used to before having children, right? It's, making sure that we communicate before we get to like our overwhelm phase, like try to communicate with those that we love, that we need a little bit support. And that might mean getting someone to watch the children for a little bit so that you can take time for yourselves. And I just want to touch on the needs unmet, because having that support is really key so that you can get your need met, right? If we put everyone before ourselves, then it's really hard to pour out of an empty cup. We need to be able to fill our cups so that we can be better used to our family members and having this community. So I said, be a community mom, in the sense that, you know, reaching out to other moms that have children, whether that's online or whether that's, I think it's both important to have both, like, but, you know, depending on your situation, it might be difficult. So having support groups where you can talk about what you're going through and you can get some support from other women, but also, you know, whether that's friends or people in your community, like really making this not a weight that you have to carry on your own, but really leaning in to other people in your lives. And that's going to help with these feelings of overwhelm. And one of the ways that what helps us not be overwhelmed is being present in our bodies. And I think Irene had mentioned this as well a little bit earlier. And this being able to be present in our bodies is really important, because sometimes our mind can go wild with how we're feeling, and it's not necessarily based on what's right in front of us, right? It's just how we're feeling, and the feeling is overwhelming where we actually are in the moment. So how do we get centered? It's literally being attuned and paying attention to the things that are around us in that moment, whether that's paying attention to what you're seeing in that moment. It's kind of like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but like 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can touch, right? Now, because you're bringing all these 5 senses in, right? 2 things that you can smell, 1 thing that you can taste. And then after you kind of go through those senses and being attuned to where you are in the present moment, then you're going to say, and I'm okay. And as you're doing this, you're taking deep breaths, and it's helping you become right there in the moment. So life happens when we're busy making other plans, right? So if we're not careful, it's very easy to get busy on helping others, helping our children, helping, you know, our significant other, whoever's in our lives, that we forget about ourselves and get in tune with our purpose and what is really going to validate and fulfill us. So I want to help you uncover the 3 keys to uncover your purpose. And one is to breathe and know that you are living in it. And it might just be in a miniature form. And what I mean by that is that sometimes, because we are moving in our gifts, our talents, and the things that we are really good at, but sometimes we're not always aware of that. So understanding that I didn't mean to go there, understanding that we are living in our purpose. So you can breathe into that and know that it's not some faraway thing that you have to find. You're living it, but it's not as clear. So I have this question, whereas if you think about the moment that you feel like it's like the best use of your time, and you feel so gratified, it just lights you up. Even in a small amount of time, whenever you do this, it gives you that ounce of joy. That's connected to your purpose. So let me give you an example. Let's say you love writing. Writing is just something that lights you up. Whether you're writing for 5 minutes or, 5 hours, it's just something that gives you that joy. Now that'll be connected to your purpose, maybe as a writer, a blogger, or something that has to do with writing, or maybe you're really you really like problem solving and you like going into those moments in your mind thinking about how you can help somebody solve a particular problem. That's connected to your purpose. And if you can see yourself doing this particular thing with a minimal effort, yet and in a small amount of time, and it gives you that gratification, that is the purpose. And I'm pretty sure you're probably doing it already. It might not be as intentional and as expansive as you would like. 2, to help you uncover your purpose is really envisioning your favorite day. Because when you think about your favorite moments, you start to realize what's really important to you. So if you took a moment to go into your mind and listen, oh, what would my favorite day even look like? Pay attention to those things that come up, right? It's so key. And again, it lights your path into your purpose. And then you want to write it down. Writing it down helps it make it real for us. And it gives us this mind-body connection from what's in here in our mind to what can be made into reality. And there's actually research that suggests that 40%, 47% of things you get done, I'm sorry, if you write things down, you have a 47% chance of getting it done even more than if you didn't write it down. And I know I said I had 3, but I have a bonus point for you, which is then create a baby habit, a baby step habit. So what I mean by that, let's say you realize that you are a writer, like I mentioned earlier, and then you realize, you know what, like I love writing. It's something that lights me up, and you wrote down the things that you like to write. And in order to write, in order to have your dream fulfilled, you wanted to write a book, right? So maybe you need to create a habit to give yourself time to write this book. So what would that entail? Breaking it up in little pieces. What are the things that I need to do to write this book? And then take one of those things and create a habit around it. So maybe one of the things that you need to do to write the book is to make sure that you spend a certain amount of time each day writing, and you have this time block that every time maybe you wake up a little bit earlier, and every time at such and such time of day, or maybe after you put the baby to sleep, or there's a certain time of day that you want to create this habit for yourself. And you just make sure you break it down so it's manageable. And the way you keep it going is 2 things to be consistent. You want to give yourself a motivator to do it, so you keep doing it. And then the other thing you do is give yourself a reminder. So whether that's a reminder connected to your routine, like I do this every time after I brush my teeth, or after, you want to pair it with something that you do routinely. That's going to be really helpful in making this habit stick. Any questions so far? Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this is just a little review. So you're going to breathe into the fact that you're living it already. It just needs to be magnified. You're going to envision your favorite day, because it's going to shed light on your on your purpose, you're going to write a list of things that represent your strengths, your skills, your talents, that really help you to see what are these things that give you that fulfillment. And then you're going to create a baby step habit. Now, when you get support in this, what's possible is you have a greater sense of ease and focus. Your dreams don't feel so far away, and you have greater meaning and joy for life. Oops, let's see. So I hope with that, I just want to get some takeaways. If you put in the chat, what are something that you take away from this? And really invite you to think about if you want more time to work together. Because what I do is really help you see you and make sure that you're connecting yourself with the other parts of your life, and that you feel fulfilled. But if we don't understand our purpose and we don't understand what lights us up, it's really hard to give out of a joy-filled place. So if you want to connect, you can use this QR code and take a picture of that, or it'll be in the chat. And it's really as a way for us to connect so that you can see how you can take maybe 30 minutes to connect with you, and I have one-on-one support to help you with that. So thank you so much. It was so great speaking to you all today. Okay, so next we have the privilege of hearing from Patrice Porter. Patrice, also known as the Gardening Grandma, works with children through her Got Dirt, Got Gardening for Kids program and Fabulous Family Futures program. She is highly regarded gardening consultant who loves opening the world of gardening to folks everywhere now that technology makes it possible. She retired after 15 years as a certified educational associate working with young children in play and exploration program in her community. Patrice is the author of a book series, Bringing Out the Potential of Children, and co-author of the #1 bestseller book, No Problem Parenting, Raising Your Kiddos with More Confidence and Less Fear. And now we have Patrice.
Right, there we are. Thank you, Latasha, and it's wonderful hearing all these speaking with my speakers here on this topic of potential and miracles and life purpose. It's just, I'm finding it very fulfilling. And today, being that it is my birthday, I find that it's a very wonderful time to ponder what it means to have a human birth. And going back to Irene was speaking about, the miracle of the birth of our children, and our children there, they're full of so much potential, and especially the newborns, they've got their whole life in front of them. And that's something I've always been fascinated with, is the potential of human beings and what it is to grow to your greatest potential. It just fathoms me as you're learning new things and trying out new roles, that you're finding out more and more of what you're actually capable of. And also, I wanted to tap into that phenomenon of the new year, when how it inspires people to start making New Year's resolutions, start to think of ways that they can better themselves. And there's kind of an energy there. And so I want to tap into that energy of wanting to better ourselves. And I want to look at what it means to show up, how you want to show up in the world and show up for your families. And what it's like, we all want the best for our families, but if you want the best for your families, I think that starts with showing up as your best self. And so what does that mean? So let's just stop for a bit here. I want to, oh, this isn't going to work. I'm not going to do that. Stop and think, what does that mean to you to show up as your best self? What does that mean? I mean, for me, like a really good example, when I was working with the kids, and I would have 10 or 20 kids under my care, and it was really important to me that I show up as my best self for them. And what that meant, it started more with my morning routine. And I got down a morning routine where I wake up in the morning, and one of the first things I would do is to rehydrate myself with a chocolate orange tea. And then getting my energies up and going. And I would do that by, I've got it's called a rebounder, but it's like a little miniature trampoline. And so it's that bouncing and even like on the edge of my bed, like you can sit on the edge of the bed and just bounce, get your energies going. Like it takes a lot of energy to be a mom with, maybe you've only got 5 kids, but to be there for the 10 or 20 kids, it takes a lot of energy. So I would bounce, get that energy going there, get that bounce back in my step. And then I would step out into our courtyard to get some fresh air and do some earthing. And if you're not familiar with what earthing is, it's being in touch with the earth, with your bare feet, and feeling that energy coming up from the earth and start flowing through your body. And so I would step out into the courtyard, and while I'm earthing, I'm doing it's kind of a modified yoga practice. It was called Salutations to the Sun, but it was a modified version of that, so that it was like doing some yoga positions, but doing it in a moving yoga. And so it was a great way to greet the day, first off. And again, get those energies going, get that flow happening. And then after that, it was really important to me that I would leave time in the morning for my morning meditation. And I know, like moms, it might be hard to have that morning time, but might mean like just waking up a little bit earlier and just having that time I like for my meditation, because it gave me a chance to center myself, get my mind peaceful. And then I'm really feeling like I'm ready for the day. I'm happy and I'm ready to greet those kids. And now, like, we've got to step back a little bit, because actually it didn't just start with my morning routine. It actually started the night before. And it was important that I get enough sleep, because like, I don't know if you, what you're like, but if I don't get my sleep, I get kind of grumpy, and it's no good being grumpy with kids. They pick up on it right away, and it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to the kids. So I would take that, make sure I got to bed on early enough so that I can be well rested for the day. And this getting enough sleep, this is part of self-care. And like Latasha had talked about, self-care, like it's very important that you take care of yourself, and that so you can better take care of your families. And there's like when you think, what does that actually mean? Latasha covered a lot of it there. Self-care, what does that mean to you? Like, there's all different areas of your life. There's physical, where that getting enough sleep, getting the fresh air, exercise, eating well. I would, back in my morning routine, I would also have a good breakfast before I headed off for the day. We can't forget that. And, but there's also like your emotional, spiritual, and your relationships and community, your sense of security. It all ties into self-care. And with the meditation, for me, that was part of my mental health, self-care, and also being out in nature. That really does wonders for the spirit for me. And now let's go back again to showing up as your best self. Look, I want you to look at as how, instead of showing up as your best self, how do you want to be in your day-to-day life? We're going to bring it back to your day-to-day life. And I want to have some fun with this. We're going to start thinking of different roles we could take on, and even start to name it, and have fun with it. And I know when I started trying this, it really made a difference to me. So I'm going to give you some of my examples, but you'll find like you'll have different categories in your life, and or different roles that you want to take on. And it's different for each of you. But so for me, like physically, I want to be physically fit and vibrant and full of vitality. So it's that physically fit, vibrant Pat that's full of vitality that I want to show up as. And it really makes a different way of like even how I hold myself, I present myself stronger. I have a certain demeanor. I feel more ready to take on anything. And it was just a switch of mind. I'm that physically fit Pat. And then another time, like I found myself, I'd be, walking around the house, and I look over there, and it's like, oh, that needs cleaned up, and oh, I didn't get those plants transplanted, and my to-do list was just starting to get larger and larger and larger, and I'd start to feel a little frazzled, and it could get a little overwhelming at sometimes when you start getting a huge to-do list. So I took this, so, okay, so how do I want to show up here in this role? And it was like, I'm happy to be a healthy, happy housewife. And when I take on that role, it was no longer that I'm looking at my to-do list. I'm showing up as a healthy, happy housewife. And I'm happy that these tasks of, okay, I'm picking up my house. I'm happy that I have a house to take care of. I'm grateful for that. And I can happily prepare the meals because I know it's contributing to our health of the family. And so those tasks that you have, they're just fitting into that role of being healthy, happy housewife. The tasks are just fitting into that role. So yeah, I'm happy. I'll clean up this mess here. I'll take care of my home. I'll prepare healthy meals. And it's all contributing to me showing up that way. And it was just that contrast of how you're looking at it and how you're behaving. It can create a whole different picture. So I'd really encourage you to try that out. Start to think, okay, like, how do you want to show up? How do you want to be? Another example, like spiritually, I want to be joyous and loving. And like meditation can be a spiritual practice. But if you think of meditation as, sitting for an hour, trying to still your mind, and that doesn't sound very appealing. But if you enter into your meditation with the intention that you want to be joyous and loving, it'll make a whole different experience. And another role, I'm a nature lover. I love being outside, enjoying nature, and when I'm appearing as that nature lover, I can be filled with that awe and wonder, and instead of just always fighting the elements or just being so hurried you can't even appreciate any of the beauty that surrounds you. And that's just a matter of taking on a different role, showing up in a different way. So what does that mean to you? To show up as your best self? How do you want to show up? What roles do you want to take on? I'd encourage you to make that shift. Drop that to-do list. Let the tasks just fill in as part of the roles that you're taking on. Part of the way you're showing up is, if you're fit and vibrant, then you can get to things. You can, it's nothing to go haul the wood in or whatever. That's one of my tasks, but and for those of you that, if you want to take that a little bit deeper, I do have a okay, I've got a question. How do I want to show up in the world? That was the question. Okay, sorry, that's the question for you. I've given you some examples of how I want to show up in the world there. And now, if you want to take that a little bit deeper, I like to do like visioning sessions with folks, where we can go through all the different categories. Like there's the your physical, your mental, your emotional, your spiritual, your relationships, your security, your financial, your community. And I do offer a complimentary visioning and unearthing potential sessions that I want to bring into awareness more of what's possible, and like to have people often, you hear of people creating visions for their business. I like to create a vision for your family. Like, how would you like your family to be in the future? And if you can create that vision and share it with your kids, let them see what's possible. You know, let them be time travelers and look into the future and have some input too. How would they like the family to be? These would be, you know, a little bit older kids, of course, not to, they got to be verbal and understand the concept of future self. But so I offer that complimentary visioning and unearthing potential session, and it's creating that awareness of what's possible, give you clarity on what it is that you want to create and what you want your family life to be like, to look like in the future. And with that, like a vision without a plan, that's just a pipe dream. So I actually work with you to start laying out your plans, create a roadmap for yourself so that you can have the stepping stones to move yourself in that direction. And that you can find that at thegardeninggrandma.com/fabfam. And it was put in the chat there. And I hope you take me up on that and we start bringing some of these visions to fruition. And that being said, I would like to encourage you all to be all you can be. Live that life that you want to live. Be an example for your kids. Be that role model for them so they too can have the life they want to live. And with that, if there's any questions, anybody want to share how they want to show up in life, a role they want to take on? Or a name that you would give yourself. I know, like, I'm not really that creative with naming, but like some folks, it might be like juiced emotionally Pat or something, or, you know, it's like, have fun with it, have fun and play with it.
Can you tell us a bit more about your fabulous family? I didn't get the whole title of it.
It's
Fabulous
Family Futures
Futures.
program. It's well, that first module or stage is that visioning, creating a vision for your family and seeing what's possible. And I work supporting the parents to show up as their best self and encourage them to have family meetings, pull their families tighter together and create that vision, having the children included, and also to start a nature-based project. Because I found that nowadays, like, kids are spending so much time in cyberspace, and I like to bring them out of cyberspace and back into the natural world. And also, like I like to encourage them to make that nature-based project to be gardening, because it's something that can help the kids become more independent and responsible and resilient. There's so much other than growing your own food that can come with that. And so I have them set out their vision, and it's done through a time blocking period that they're working over a 3-month time period to create that vision just for the 3 months. So it makes it more achievable. And then being able to repeat that, having the confidence to repeat that, that's to get so that you can keep yourself focused, working with intent, and you're giving your child an alternative project than being on their devices, and a family nature-based project. And with the family garden, if the kids take that on, then they can start to be contributing members to the family through the harvest. And so they get to go through a whole growing period, and I help them out with that. And then at the final stage, I want to instill that love of nature in the kids. And then on the final stage, it's working with the families, different families in a mastermind setting, pulling in the different resources and everything, because once you've built that strong family bond, and your kids are creating their own food gardens and contributing members, it's time to start moving into community. And I like to have the kids, if they've got that love of nature, instead of being overwhelmed with all these environmental crises, climate crises, they can let that love they feel direct their actions, and instead of feeling overwhelmed from all that crisis messaging, and it makes for better environmental behavior. And as I say, the last stage, we're starting to reach out to community and sharing all those goodies and different ways you can work within your community. So that's the Fabulous Family Futures program. And there's also the Got Dirt Gardening for Kids, if that's built for the kids to consume, to get them starting to get into the growing process, go on an adventure with Mother Nature and her superheroes on your side, and start to garden and grow your own food. So if there's any other questions here on making that switch, like, I don't know if that was really clear to you, how it's like creating that role, or that how you want to show up as your best self. Is that clear to you, how the difference between just going through and I have to do this, I have to do that, or and that if you can actually take on a role of how you want to be, that the difference it can make. Anybody
So are you saying role playing? Or it seems like it's more deep than that.
Yeah, no, it is a little bit deeper, but I really like to have fun with it. You know, try on different roles, see how it feels. You know, so it could be like role playing, and it could be or as you know, when you, and I break it down into the different categories. So like the physically fit and vibrant, you know, it has a different demure than just my normal, I'm up in the morning and active person. It's a different one. And then, like, as I say, when if you can get, if people take me up on that visioning and unearthing potential session, like, we'll go a lot deeper into that vision you want to create, and that'll go again, like all the different categories, and it'll make it easier for you to have that role that you want to or way of being you want to show up as.
So it's essentially asking the right questions for yourself to motivate you to be that which you want to be in the world.
Yes. Yes.
So
Find
I
out
was
what it
curious.
is.
I do have a question for you as far as roles are concerned, because your title is the gardening grandma, and
Yes.
it kind of speaks of the possibility of the grandmas having this role in the community of their families, which we need so much right now. I mean, if you have the luxury of having your grandma and they're active and they're involved in the family, the kind of community that that can create beyond the family, beyond the fabulous family that you're wanting to encourage.
Yeah, that, like I specifically took that role because like working with the young kids too, they might not have a grandma person in their life, and it is a very important role that the grandmas play, that like the gardening grandma, like I'm that person. If you don't have someone to show you how to garden and grow your own food, I'll be that person. And the grandma, we kind of hold the wisdoms and the we're relieved from the mothering roles, like, you know, we take care of the kids and everything, but we can send them home and we go home, you know, and so it's a different role, but yet we are in that caring role, and just someone that people feel really comfortable with, you know, if they need someone to talk or ask questions to, I want to be that person.
Definitely an important role in the community.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how you help families that live in apartments and don't have access to even their own yard? And you might have access to a park nearby, but inside, a lot of life is inside now, and especially if you live in a cold climate. But life is indoors now.
I live in a cold climate, and actually one of the best investments I made was my indoor garden, because we have 2 months of summer and 6 months of winter. So, but it's even like start growing some herbs on your windowsill and putting it into your dishes, and with the kids, like have them to start creating the meals with you, and if you can have them grow a few herbs to put in, and or some teas that, you know, things that different mint teas are nice, that you'll find that just starting with that little thing, it'll liven up your dishes. And then you get inspired. Your family starts to think, geez, what did you do to that meal? That really tastes good. And so you could be experiencing that bit of nature inside, or have some plants for your kids to take care of. And like when I'm working with the kids, opening the world of gardening to them, the first thing I do, I said, like, what type of garden do you want? I mean, they might not want, you know, when you just think, oh, let's go gardening, it might not be too enticing. But, and an example with that, I had my grandniece. My niece wanted me to teach the kids how to garden. So my grandniece, I asked her that question, what type of garden do you want to have? And she said, I want a Halloween garden. And I said, okay. And I said, well, I've got some Lumina pumpkins, ghost pumpkins seeds that we can put in. And then she said, I want sweets in my garden. And I said, okay, I've got a stevia plant. We can bake cuttings, and stevia is 10 times sweeter than sugar. And then, you know, she said, I want a black cat in my garden. And lo and behold, I actually had a black cat silhouette that she could put in her garden. And the Halloween themed colors of the orange and yellow. And it's piquing the children's interests. And once you've got their interests and they're engaged, and you can scaffold them to whole new levels, and keeping it fun, just keeping it fun.
It has been. Well, as usual, we have just wonderful input for parents from such experts in really specific areas. And that's what's exciting about our speakers and our workshops. And I know I had crazy internet problems today, in and out. I just want to thank you all for your wisdom, and that we're embracing parents. We know that raising kids is challenging from start to finish. Well, there's no finish, right? Ever. We have a grandma attesting to that right now. And all of this is here to make sure that you moms and grandmas and caretakers who are raising kids, we honor you. We know it's hard work, and we don't want you to feel alone. And that's why we just are so honored here to be part of your community. Now, you've got 3 women here offering you amazing opportunities to chat with them on their areas of expertise that you got to hear this morning. And if you're listening to the replay, it's available to you too. And the replay is up for a week. So please take advantage of being able to connect with these wonderful women who know what you're going through and have been there, and or work with people who have been doing this hard work themselves and know where the pain points are. And we're here to help you get over those in so many different ways. So we're going to be saying adios here and just stopping our recording. And then we'll make a little recap together, and you can also catch that. It'll be posted up in our Facebook group. So everyone, for working parents and working at home, doing the double work of kids and an outside job, pick up the replay when it's convenient to you. And that's why we put it out there, and it's just totally there for you in our community workshops for moms. And we look forward to seeing you next week, which will be in the afternoon. So this was a morning session, and next week will be at 4 p.m. with 3 different speakers who are also there to support you and speak to your heart. So we look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group. And for that, thank you so much, Latasha and Irene and Patrice, for just a really fabulous session. Now, whoever is running there we go. Okay.